How's my chest hair looking? You got my best in? What's that? Roll that quick. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for tuning in to CNN Nightly News. I'm Tom Burgundy. Now, in the latest news from San Diego Zoo, speculation has arisen today that the resident hippopotamus may not be so hip after all. As the picture depicts, the sunglasses that the hippopotamus are wearing are anything but hip and cool. Now, the zookeepers are saying that it's not ideal for the image that this hippopotamus is actually trying to uphold, and if things don't change real soon, they may actually have to consider changing its name from a hippopotamus to just a plain old hippopotamus. Now, checking over at sports, going over to Melbourne in the Australian Open, the world #1 tennis player has caused massive controversy today, basically requesting that his opposition player gets kicked out of the tournament. In his statement to the officials, he said whilst he was trying to serve, he could not concentrate as his opponent was making a huge racket. Alright, now it's time to go over to Jerry for the weather.
Thanks, Tom Burgundy. And to today's weather, in the southern states it's going to be a whopping 35 degrees Celsius.
Whoa! Wait a second, Jerry. Our audience is from the United States of America. They are not going to get this Celsius mumbo jumbo that you're bringing over from Australia. I tell you what, guys, you just can't get any good help anymore. I'm out of here.
Okay, so let's help this American out with understanding degrees Celsius. Now, the formula for converting degrees Fahrenheit, F, which is the system used in the USA to degrees Celsius, is C is equal to 5 bracket F minus 32 over 9. Now, the first thing we need to do is make F the subject. So, because we want to make F the subject, of course, we come along and we draw a circle around F. Now, let's have a look at this using BODMAS. The first thing that happens to the F while inside the brackets is minus 32. The next thing that happens outside the brackets is it's being multiplied by 5. And then the last thing that happens is it's being divided by 9. Right, now let's go through and write the opposites. Times by 9, divided by 5, and add 32. And we draw the magic arrow going up. So the very first thing that we need to do to both sides is times by 9. Let's just write out the equation though before we get started. C is equal to 5 bracket F minus 32 over 9. Right, so let's multiply both sides by 9, times by 9, and times by 9. So you're going to get 9C equals 5 bracket F minus 32, because the two 9's here will cancel out. Right, give it a tick to say we've done it. Now we divide both sides by 5. Divide by 5 and divide all of this by 5. These 5's will cancel out, leaving us with 9C on 5 is equal to F minus 32. Done that side, let's tick it. Next one is plus 32. Add 32, add 32. Alright, so what we end up getting is 9C on 5 plus 32 is equal to F. Therefore we've now got F on its own, because of course the negative 32 and the 32 will cancel out. Alright, so that there is the making F the subject. The question then says, what is the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit when the temperature measured in degrees Celsius is 35 degrees? Alright, so let's write out the formula for Fahrenheit that we've just figured out. F is equal to 9C on 5 plus 32. Alright, now substitute in C equals 35, so you're just going to go C equals 35. Therefore, F is equal to 9 bracket, because whenever we substitute in we must put brackets, 35 close bracket on 5 plus 32. Now what we do know is that 35 divided by 5 is 7, so what we're actually going to get is 9 times 7 plus 32, which is equal to 9 times 7 is 63 plus 32, and therefore that is equal to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Therefore, when the temperature is 35 degrees Celsius, it is 95 degrees Fahrenheit.
Alright guys, now it's time to apply the skills that we've actually just learnt to a problem that you're likely to find in a physics class, so let's check it out.
Okay, so now we have a worded question that says, note, in this example, m is short for meters, ms is short for meters per second, as in velocity, and ms squared is the unit for acceleration. Now the final velocity v meters per second of an object that begins with the velocity u meters per second and accelerates at a meters per second squared over a distance s meters is given by the equation v squared is equal to u squared plus 2as. Now, as you can see, there are a whole lot of words there, and before we even answer any questions, what I recommend you do is go through and highlight key information. So the final velocity v, right, and the unit is meters per second. The next important part of an object that begins with the velocity u meters per second and accelerates at a meters per second squared over a distance s meters is given by the equation. There you go. Those there are key points because we need to understand what each pronumeral represents so that we can accurately substitute into equations. Right, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to write this information out. I call this actually a bit of a plan to help us out with the maths. Alright, so we're going to call final velocity is equal to v. So we have v is equal to final velocity. Alright, the next one, of an object that begins with the velocity u, so therefore u, if it begins with a velocity, would say the initial velocity. And accelerates at a meters per second. Well, a is equal to acceleration over a distance s meters. Well, therefore s is equal to distance, and is given by the equation v squared is equal to u squared plus 2as. These points here are absolutely vital because we're going to have a whole lot of questions that basically give us different values for v, u, a and s, and then require us to rearrange this equation here, v squared equals u squared plus 2as. Alright, let's go through and actually see what the question's asked now. Find the value of v when u is equal to 16, a is equal to 2, and s is equal to 36. Alright, well that's just asking us to use this formula here and substitute values in for it. So let's rewrite the formula. V squared is equal to u squared plus 2as. Alright, we know that u is equal to 16, a is equal to 2, and s equals 36. So and we want to find v, because that's what the question says up here. So we go v squared is equal to u squared. Well, u was equal to 16, because you can see here, now whenever we substitute in, we write in brackets. So instead of writing u, we write 16, bracket, squared, plus 2, a is equal to 2, so I write 2 in brackets instead of writing the a, and s, well s is equal to 36, so instead of writing s we write 36. Now what we're going to do is simplify all this. So 16 squared is equal to 256, plus 2 times 2 is 4 times 36 is 144. Add these two together now, 256 plus 144 gets us 400. So therefore v squared is equal to 400, but we haven't actually found v yet. What I need to do is I actually need to square root both sides. So if I square root this side and square root this side, I end up getting v is equal to plus or minus 20 meters per second, because v is a velocity, so therefore you need to include the unit. Once again, you need to include the positive and negative, because the square root, both positive 20 squared and negative 20 squared, will get you 400. Right, the next question says rearrange the equation to make s the subject. Right, well let's write the equation out once again. So you're going to have v squared equals u squared plus 2as. Alright, well I want to get this s on its own, so let's circle it. Alright, and let's write out the story of what's happening to the s. So the very first thing that's happening to the s is it's being multiplied by 2a. Alright, then it's got u squared added at the end. U squared. Write the opposites now, so minus u squared and divide by 2a. And the magic arrow. Right, so very first thing, minus u squared from both sides, minus u squared gets us v squared minus u squared is equal to 2as. Divide both sides by 2a now, divide by 2a, divide by 2a. The 2a's will cancel out here, so you end up getting s is equal to v squared minus u squared over 2a. And finally, the last question says find the distance travelled by an object that begins with a velocity of 10 meters per second, has a final velocity of 4 meters per second, whilst accelerating at negative 1 meters per second. Let's highlight the key information here because there's a little bit going on. So find the distance travelled by an object, so we want to find the final distance of an object that begins with a velocity of 10 meters per second. So begins with a velocity of 10 meters per second, has a final velocity of 4 meters per second, whilst accelerating at negative 1 meters per second. Right, let's go through and match our information that we have down here to the information that we've been given. So we are looking for the final distance. That means that we don't know what s is equal to. We're actually looking for that. Alright, what we do know though is it begins with a velocity of 10 meters per second. Our initial velocity, u, is equal to 10 meters per second. Has a final velocity of 4 meters per second, therefore our final velocity, which is represented by v, is equal to 4 meters per second. Whilst accelerating at negative 1 meters per second, while our acceleration is represented by a, which you can see down there. So a is equal to negative 1 meters per second squared. Alright, so we want to find s. We want to use these values to do so. Is there a formula that we can use to find s? Well, yes there is, because we found it over here before. So we're just going to write that formula out now. S is equal to v squared minus u squared over 2a. V being 4, so we're going to write 4 in brackets instead of v squared, minus u being 10, bracket 10 squared, over 2, and a was negative 1. Simplify that now. 4 squared is 16, minus 10 squared is 100, over 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. 16 minus 100 ends up getting us negative 84 over negative 2. And negative 84 divided by negative 2 equals 42 meters. Therefore, the object travelled 42 meters. Remember guys, if the question is provided to you in a worded format, you must write a worded response as part of your answer. Okay, so now it's time to press pause once again and attempt the following question. Now before we start, because it is a worded question, we should always highlight the key information. So the following formula, c squared equals a squared plus b squared, is used to find an unknown length of a right angled triangle where c is the length of the hypotenuse and a and b are the two sides adjacent to the right angle. So therefore, let's write this information out below. C squared is equal to a squared plus b squared, where C equals length of hypotenuse and A and B equal length of side adjacent to the right angle. Right, the first question says, create a new formula to represent the length of one of the shorter sides. Okay, so we know the longer side is the hypotenuse, so therefore we just need to rearrange the formula to either get A or B on its own. Right, so here you can see I've written the formula, and I've decided that I'm going to go get B on its own. So I'll circle B. To do that, I've subtracted A squared over here, and then I've just flipped it around, making B over here, and then I've square rooted both sides. Because of course when I square root this side and square root this side, the square root and the square will cancel each other out, and all you can see there is I've swapped it over. Now I've written the plus and minus here because remember, you actually, when you square root something, you get positive and negative, but because we can't have a negative length, b is equal to the square root of c squared minus a squared. Because if you think about it, the length of this triangle cannot be a negative number, it can only be positive. Now the next question says, use this new formula to find the length of x for the triangle below. Okay, so what I've done here is I've used the formula that we found before, that is b is equal to the square root of c squared minus a squared. I've written my a, b and c values in, so my a is 7, my c is 9 and my b is x, so I substitute b for x, c for 9, a for 7. Alright, simplified, 9 squared is 81, 7 squared is 49, 81 minus 49 is 32, so therefore x is equal to the square root of 32 units. So in methods, unless it asks you to give it to two decimal places, remember to always leave it in an exact value. But we can actually simplify this even further. Now what we need to do is we need to look for a number that goes into 32, so that's a factor of 32 that can be square rooted. So if we have a think about this, we actually know that 16 goes into 32, so that's the same as saying 16 times 2. 16 times 2 is 32. So then what I can do is I can break up this 16 times 2 as writing root 16 times root 2. It's actually still the same thing. Now root 16 I know is 4 times root 2, and therefore we can actually write that just as easy as 4 root 2, because we can't actually square the root 2 part. So therefore x in its most simplified version is 4 root 2 units. And this is called simplifying surds.
Thanks guys for tuning into today's lesson on rearranging and substituting into linear equations. Now guys, it's extremely important that you stay tuned for the very next lesson, which is all about finding the gradient of a straight line, because this skill will be extremely important for setting you up for lessons just down the track. Alright, so like always, make sure you say hi to your maths teacher for me. Morsey out.